Welcome to the Alcohol Minimalist podcast. I'm your host, Molly Watts. If you want to change your drinking habits and create a peaceful relationship with alcohol, you're in the right place. This podcast explores the strategies I use to overcome a lifetime of family alcohol abuse, more than 30 years of anxiety and worry about my own drinking, and what felt like an unbreakable daily drinking habit. Becoming an alcohol minimalist means removing excess alcohol from your life so it doesn't remove you from life. It means being able to take alcohol or leave it without feeling deprived. It means to live peacefully, being able to enjoy a glass of wine without feeling guilty and without needing to finish the bottle. With science on our side, we'll shatter your past patterns and eliminate your excuses. Changing your relationship with alcohol is possible. I'm here to help you do it. Let's start now. Well, hello and welcome or welcome back to the Alcohol Minimalist podcast with me, your host, Molly Watts, coming to you from a kind of gray Oregon, but it was actually fairly dry today. It was sunny for a little bit. But I do want to update you all because I think it's important for those of you that are in the rest of the country, and you probably think that you just hear me moan and whine about Oregon and how wet it's been. But I finally saw this statistic, the wettest April on record in April this year. Okay, so it wasn't all in my head. It didn't just feel like it was really raining a lot. It actually was. So there you go. Anyway. Today on the podcast, I am talking to Ian Andersen. Ian is one of the co-founders of Sunnyside, formerly Cutback Coach, and we are just catching up. He's bringing me up to date on all the things that have been going on over there at Sunnyside for the last year or so, since the last time they were on the show, and just want to have a continued conversation about how people are making a decision to have a more mindful relationship with alcohol, and especially coming out of COVID. We are officially coming out of COVID. I hope so. But it's really changed people's drinking habits, and we need to take it seriously, and we need to decide to create this peaceful relationship with alcohol that I talk about all the time. So here is my conversation with Ian Andersen. Hey, Ian, how are you? Thank you so much for taking the time and being with me here on the Alcohol Minimalist podcast.
You're very welcome. It's good to be back, Molly.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
You. Absolutely. So I gave a brief intro just coming into this to kind of set the groundwork for who you are, but we've had you on the show before. You and I have worked together. Sunnyside is definitely partnering with Alcohol Minimalist right now. And I really wanted to have you back on the show because over the course of the time that we've talked and worked on really mindset stuff around people's alcohol use, and of course your wonderful app, you guys have gone through a brand change and things are just really hopping and bopping over there at Sunnyside, formerly Cutback Coach. So I wanted to catch up with you on the podcast so that we could talk about it and talk about the philosophy behind it and what's been going on. And then I do want to talk about a little bit some more of the data and just, I don't know, we're going to dig in, but let's start with the rebrand. All right. So Cutback Coach, when I first talked with you guys, that was, you were just getting going, you were just starting this app, and even describe it a little bit because not everybody that's listening even knows what we're talking about yet.
Sure. So to start, let's start with Cutback Coach, the origin of where we are today. Cutback Coach was designed to be a system that myself and Nick, my co-founder, would personally use in our own lives to help us plan and monitor and essentially cut back on our own drinking without any pressure to quit. We wanted to create something that felt like a fitness tracker or a Noom, kind of like Noom specifically for alcohol, something that would help us build healthier habits and stay on top of our own health goals. Neither of us wanted to quit drinking. I mean, Nick and I both come from similar sort of backgrounds. We enjoyed drinking in college and have both had moments in our lives where we felt like we were drinking too much, and have I personally explored with, taking periods of drinking off, cutting back, and by using Sunnyside. Now cutback coach, now Sunnyside, I do find myself, to be perfectly honest, drinking quite a bit less since starting this company.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with sort of the education and the tools that Sunnyside gives us. So I'll just go really quickly, but fundamentally it's an app. It's a service that helps you plan, track, and monitor your alcohol consumption. No pressure to quit. And there's a coaching element as well, where we connect you with real human coaches only if you want it via text message. And our members on average cut back their drinking by 30% in the first 30 days. And it goes up to about 40% in 60 days. And it's only about $850 a month if you sign up for the annual plan.
Yeah, it's awesome. I used Cutback Coach myself, and now Sunnyside. I'm sorry, I'm going to call it that.
Yeah,
so that's
all
what
good.
I started. When I first started, I used it, and of course, and I recommend it, and I tell people about it all the time because it really is. It's one of the most just thoughtful, useful tools for really setting a plan with intention too, which is something I really like about the program, is that it's not just tracking like what you've done in the past, but also planning ahead for the future.
Yeah, that's really important to us. And one of the things we're really proud of is our algorithm recommends a specific plan for you on a weekly basis based on your past tracking history and on your original diagnostic that you set up. But we adapt to your goals over time, and we let you also adjust in case there's specific things going on in your life. If you're going to Mexico for a trip, we celebrate that and we want you to have fun. We just want you to put a plan in place so that you hold yourself accountable. And that's what we're really all about when it comes to mindful drinking is understanding how alcohol is impacting you in the moment and making the best decisions.
Yeah. So, okay. So we're plugging right along. Cutback Coach, all's well. Actually, what I think is really interesting, you and I were talking about this before we jumped on. So the company actually launched in October of 2020, not as a reflection of what was already becoming apparent to the world, that COVID was going to impact everybody's drinking, but it was specific more to like a situation for Nick where he was on vacation and trying to figure this out for himself, came back, and then but talk about some timing and some synergy with the world, because COVID definitely has changed many people's relationships with alcohol, and not necessarily for the better.
Absolutely. We did launch around October in 2020. And I don't think at the time we even realized how helpful a service like Cutback Coach was going to be, or let's just say Sunnyside, for people in the moment. It took a little while for us to find the research that was really showing how much substance use was increasing during the pandemic period. And when we really started to get members on board and have these one-on-one conversations, it wasn't really until then that we realized COVID was one of the biggest triggers. People were kind of generalizing the triggers into COVID. And what that broke down to was things like being at home, boredom, having to take on additional stresses with the family, and sort of family management. And we didn't specifically run this study, but there were a lot of studies. One of the ones that sticks out to us the most is how women were disproportionately impacted by the pandemic. And I don't want to misquote anything, but I do believe it's because they often are the ones that have to take care of the family in situations like this. And women disproportionately saw substance use increase to problematic levels that we haven't seen in a very long time. So when we look at the demographics of Sunnyside, we did notice that a majority of our users are women, and maybe that's because of the need, but it's definitely something that we saw correlate to the research trends that were out there.
Yeah, you guys actually, I was talking with you too. You guys did a joint study later. So after, been around for a while and really kind of right before you became Sunnyside officially, a joint study with Ipsos that was really interesting. And this is what I'm going to read it specifically because I think it's very important. I want people to hear this. Really reflective, I think, of especially the pandemic drinking. The study found that despite many cities reopening, 82% of people mostly drink at home, while 1 out of 3 say they drink mostly alone, which is scary. I'm not scary, but it's can lead to more problems, I think, when you're alone. In fact, Americans are drinking primarily to manage stress.
66% of Americans are drinking to reduce stress or unwind, while only 11% are drinking to celebrate. And most Americans are also drinking at a higher clip, both more frequently. 50% are drinking more than 3 times a week and more intensely, with 48% drinking 3 or more drinks at a time. Those are significant findings for any study, but especially with reflection on the pandemic, and timely for Sunnyside. Timely, like I said.
Yeah, indeed. The first thing that I want to say is, like, at Sunnyside, most of the folks that we work with do drink alcohol. And most of us have been able to recognize ourselves sometimes in these statistics. So that's to say, we do not judge people for drinking at home, but if people decide that they do want to cut back and change those habits, that's exactly what we're for. I do agree that 82% of people mostly drinking at home does seem like a high number. I wish we had a better metric on how much that's increased since pre-pandemic, but I can tell you for sure, I don't get involved in the coaching queue as much as I used to. It's a very delightful part of the Sunnyside experience, but I used to actually have the opportunity to chat with members who needed a nudge or some motivation. And I think probably the thing that people needed help cutting back on the most was the end of the day drink. When they're unwinding at dinner and maybe the kids are around. And what we noticed a lot of the conversations where they went was, I've been at home all day, I haven't left the house, and now I have to cook and take care of the family. So I'm going to have my nightly drink. But over COVID, that turned into 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 drinks every night. And it sort of became that habit. And I think this is really where Sunnyside, it fits the bill really well. People who are kind of falling into those habits and it becomes a norm for them aren't considering themselves alcoholics. They're raising their hand and saying, I want to cut back because I'm starting to feel like this is a slippery slope. And I want support in that. And I don't want people to necessarily judge me and call me an alcoholic. And that's something that's really near and dear to us, is trying to destigmatize the idea that it's okay to say, I want to cut back on my drinking and not be judged for that.
Yeah, so 100%. You and I, we speak the same language when it comes to that. So that is 100%. And that's, for myself, I wish that, Sunny, you guys should have been developing this app like 20 years ago. It would have been really good. Oh, that's right. You guys would have been like teenagers. Okay, never mind. But anyway, I turned from the same thing, just from, 1 or 2 drinks a night to 3 or 4. And that's, it's just simply not a great habit for your health. I mean, I share a lot of the science over here on this podcast about why that's problematic. Not to mention the rebound anxiety that people have from it, and that's one of the things that I think Sunnyside really helps with too. So I'm taking you on all these different little tangents, but now back to it. We're back. We're like in the end of 2021, and suddenly I get an email from you and you say, Molly, we are completely rebranding Cutback Coach. And I was like, what? Why? I like Cutback Coach. I like the name of it. It's all good. What's going on? So tell me about the mindset and the vision for the change from Cutback Coach to Sunnyside.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the question. We too love the name, the alliteration. It's kind of a cute name. It's very memorable.
Yes.
You could remember it and search for it pretty easily. But the rebrand is fundamentally driven by our mission to be the best alcohol service for anyone that wants to build healthier habits. And we felt like that we were getting fairly consistent feedback that the name felt too narrowly focused on people that wanted to cut back on their drinking, or that it felt judgmental, like we were telling people that they were drinking too much. And not everyone that uses Sunnyside actually has that intention. I will say the majority does. Most people do, but we also want to be a service that once you hit your goals after cutting back, that you can maintain. And so we don't always want to push people to cut back. You can join an alcohol health service like Sunnyside just to start adding dry days into your week, or to say, when I drink, I don't want to binge drink as much. So making small changes to your drinking habits can have pretty profound impacts, and it can help you decrease the next day anxiety and help you really feel like alcohol is not slipping away from you, but that is something that you can enjoy. So we looked at a lot of names. Obviously, we're sort of marketers at heart, Nick and I, or by trade. So we took this rebrand very seriously. But Sunnyside to us really represents like a destination. It's even though it's different for everybody, it's we can all relate to the idea of like finding a sunnier disposition in our lives and like making progress toward that goal. So it sounds a little cheesy, and sometimes branding is, but that's truly what it represents to us, is making sure that we don't leave people out, but that we're all inclusive when it comes to alcohol health. And it's been going really well for us. Honestly, our members didn't really care,
right?
Which you generally expect with the rebrand. But more importantly, it's really helped us expand the story. It helps us get more creative with our sort of marketing and branding, how we go to market, and how we talk about alcohol health. And I think one of the more surprising things that I didn't expect, this is getting a little sort of nerdy on the business side, but it's kind of fun.
Okay. It's kind of fun.
It's enabled us to have really a lot more natural conversations with leaders and partners in the alcohol space. Because when we were talking to folks, like let's just say we're talking to a big non-alcohol beverage company, and we're called a cutback coach, they don't really want to be associated with the business that's trying to tell people to cut back, because they don't do that themselves. But as soon as we rebranded to Sunnyside, they were like, yes, we are absolutely aligned with your mission. We too want to help people find balance and mindfulness. So just that alone has helped us kind of establish ourselves more as a lifestyle brand, I would say. Something that people can use without having the requirement to cut back on their drinking.
Oh, I think that's awesome. I agree with that I really can see why that would be so beneficial, especially within the realms of other alcohol brands that are or non-alcoholic brands that are trying to, because it's always about, there is such a negative association, right, with using alcohol in terms of and overusing alcohol, and you can't ever decide to reduce the amount that you're drinking without someone asking you or thinking, or you're worried that someone's thinking, well, you must have a problem, right? I mean, so you don't take actions. And this is something that I think is really obviously needs to be changed in a global way. We have to not, and this is kind of what I know the blog post that I shared with you guys, and just knowing your alcohol number. It's like, this really shouldn't be anything like negative whatsoever. It should just simply be, right? Which is just, we should be treating something that is, it's as common sense, right? If you're going to include alcohol in your life, you need to do it in a mindful way. I mean, is that really all that hard to understand, folks? It's like, you wouldn't, there's so many things that we can say. And sure, there is enough data that tells us that there are many people that are better served by not drinking alcohol at all.
Absolutely.
And that's not to be argued with, but that doesn't mean that that's the only way to improve everyone's alcohol health. And the more that we set up the world in black and white, right and wrong, good or bad, the less opportunity we have to help more people.
I couldn't agree more. And I just want to share my own version of that. When, several years ago, I was working at a startup that was fantastic. And we created a bit of a hangout after work and drinking culture. Mm-hmm. And I think it's okay to also admit that alcohol kind of is habit forming. I don't want to use the word addictive. Well, we know it is technically, so I don't want to deny that either. But like, it became habit forming in the work environment that I was in. It made me gain weight. I was working out less. I would have more anxiety at work. And I decided at one point, like, for my own personal health, I'm just going to take 3 months off. That's a lot. So I wanted to make some big changes. I wanted to get back into shape. I wanted to feel like myself and I didn't want to prioritize after work bars. I wanted to prioritize my own health. Doing that was hard, almost more because of the pressure that I felt from my friends and peers to drink, and also to have to explain to them what I was doing. It felt somewhat shameful. And looking back, I'm extremely proud that I did that. And I've done that. I haven't taken that much time off of drinking since then, but I certainly take weeks and a month every now and then just to sort of reset. I personally don't think there's anything wrong with taking periods of time off of drinking to reset your own health and mental wellness. I think it's actually pretty critical.
Yeah.
So I'm right there with you.
Hey guys, just a quick break in this week's show with Ian Andersen from Sunnyside to talk with you a little bit more about Sunnyside. So I have known Nick and Ian, the founders of Sunnyside, for just over a year now. I've been watching the company grow, and I have to tell you, I'm just so impressed. They are deeply mission driven, and they are building a service that's really dedicated to help millions of people create a healthier relationship with alcohol without the pressure to quit or feel guilty. So, of course, you know this aligns completely with everything I talk about here at Alcohol Minimalist. Think of Sunnyside as a digital coach that helps you set a plan for the week and provides tools to track your drinks and measure your progress, all while using proven behavior change techniques to create lasting habit change. It's super easy to start, super easy to stick to, and it includes a 15-day free trial so you can test it out. Head over to sunnyside.co/minimalist to get started today.
I'm a big proponent of including multiple alcohol-free days in your week. I mean, it's just, I never took a full month off of, I mean, let's not talk about way back when I was pregnant, but intentionally, I never took a full month off of alcohol until I had been really working on my habit for almost 2 years. So, because I would have never been ready to, I would have never been mentally, it sounded just like impossible, first of all. And the fear of not being able to do it kept me stuck in the not trying for a long time. Like I was too worried about the fact that what does it mean if I try to do this and I can't? So I really encourage people to meet themselves where they're at first.
Absolutely.
Start there, start small, and then start adding alcohol-free days in. Adding even one alcohol-free day a week is just, over the course of 52, the course of a year, 52 less days that you've been drinking. It's a big deal, So
yeah, we talk about, sometimes we like to add up the calories that you cut out if you cut out one drink a day. I mean, 365 calories times like 125 is
right.
Tens of thousands of calories. So these small changes really do add up. And I just want to be clear, I'm not advocating for taking 3 months off of drinking.
I know you're not.
It's actually not necessarily what I want people to come away with. I think what you're saying is way more appropriate for where we think people should start, which is like trying to add one dry day in, or trying to decrease the number of drinks per day. Yeah. And I was going to say what my current pattern, which is similar to Nick's, and this is more just because I've tried to optimize my own sort of working style, is I try not to drink during the week, but then I give myself a little bit of leeway on Fridays, and then Saturdays maybe a little bit, and then Sundays. So, and these are all things that I've learned from my past patterns. I now have a certain way that I enjoy alcohol that maximizes my health and the enjoyment, rather than bringing me like kind of lowering my overall performance during the week.
Yeah. I what's interesting is that I recently just decided this actually starting in Q2, because April is Alcohol Awareness Month. So I celebrated Alcohol Awareness Month here on the podcast by doing an alcohol-free weekend. Nice. And I decided to start incorporating. I used to do just an alcohol-free weekend per quarter, but I decided this year to take it up and do an alcohol-free weekend per month. And I'm doing that mostly because of just exactly what you said. What I find myself doing is getting into this pattern of not drinking during the week and saving my, because I stick to low risk limits. So the low risk limits from the NIAAA folks are 7 standard drinks or less per week for women, and no more than 3 standard drinks in a day. For men, those are 14 standard drinks in a week, and no more than 4 drinks in any one day. And so for me, I stick to those low risk limits. That's what helps me in terms of my own mental, just not having anxiety about my drinking habits.
Yeah.
But what I found is that I started falling into that kind of nothing during the week and then, on the weekends. And so
I see.
Yeah, I wanted to challenge my thinking because for me, I definitely always want to look at the reasons why I'm including alcohol at all. And because there is, and I know last time you guys were here, I bored you with the science, but there really is some science to it about the fact that once you get past a blood alcohol level of 0.055%, you're basically going to have that rebound anxiety the next day. You're going to significantly increase the possibilities of negative consequences as opposed to, if you stick to that lower alcohol blood volume, which is really 1 to 2 drinks. What's really been interesting now is that I have become so in tune. And that's what I think Sunnyside offers people too, is it really the opportunity to become just more aware and in tune with their own mind and body with alcohol. Because what I've noticed is that now when I do make that decision to have a third drink or whatever on a specific day, the next day I can really tell the difference. I can really feel it. And so that's the kind of mindfulness I think that we want to create.
I love that. And we find that I don't think I mentioned this yet, but when people start using Sunnyside, we encourage them to focus mostly on the tracking behavior and not really so much on the planning, although it is an element. And that's because a lot of people don't realize how many drinks they're having in a specific session. Tracking helps them realize that they're counting 2 glasses of wine as 1 glass. It helps us realize that an 8% beer is actually should count as 2 drinks. Right. So when we talk about tracking, we're not just talking about counting. We're talking about pausing before the next drink, sort of mindfully logging it, and then asking yourself, should I have water? Do I really want and need this drink? Okay, if I do, I'm an adult. I'm making this decision, but maybe I should slow down because I know how it's going to impact me the next day. And I think a lot of people can relate to this. Just personally, myself. I'll absolutely go for the 8% beer if I'm out at a like dinner or something. Just to it's human nature. It's like, oh cool, I can kind of like get away with having 1 drink, but it'll be twice as strong. So helping ourselves, not beating ourselves up over those things, but rather just building mindfulness around what we're doing can be game changing for people.
Now, see, and isn't this just show our age difference? I am now like in this mindset where I'm like excited about the fact that there are really awesome IPAs that are like season, like our session IPAs that are coming out and they're like 3.5%, 4% alcohol. Cause then I'm like, sweet, I can have 2. Like they're not even, they only count as 1. So I
just want to be clear. The really strong IPAs are really hangover problems. Like I don't like, you gotta be, I recommend for taste, but not too many of them. I've been myself trying to stick with lighter beers. I'm not perfect, but the session beers are definitely the way to go for me. I think that's another way to be mindful.
It is.
Stick with the lighter beers.
Yeah, no, that's
it helps a lot.
Yeah, actually, I shared with my group, my Facebook group. Oh gosh, now it's been how long ago? Almost, I don't know, 9 months ago. I have to think about it. October, I think, of 2021. I went I was gone for a weekend and I was going to have, 3 drinks. I was out, but I had over the course, and it was like over a 6-hour period of time, but 16-ounce drinks. But I found out they were Elysian Space Dust. It was an 8 point something beer. And so by the end of the night, not only was I feeling it, but like the next day I was off. It was awful. I felt terrible. I was like, this is crazy. First of all, I used to drink 3 to 4 IPAs all the time, but now it's like it was all because it was a higher ABV and I just didn't pay attention. And so it matters. You need to, again, making mindful decisions. Okay. Enough about my digression there.
I love it.
So tell me about some of the new things that are happening over at Sunnyside. I know you guys launched a community, and I have shared it with my group, but I'm sharing it here now, folks. You can go look it up. I'll put the link in the show notes. The Mindful Drinkers community over on Facebook. So tell me about that, and also just about some of the new improvements that are coming for Sunnyside.
Yeah. Again, thanks for the great question. So the Mindful Drinkers is a public-facing community that we're putting together on Facebook that does not require a subscription to Sunnyside. It is for anybody that wants to join a community and start talking about and building healthier habits. And then we are starting to just like employ some of the things that make Sunnyside great. So we do daily check-ins with everybody. We are going to start doing some virtual meetups, and we recently posted a 30-day tracking challenge for May. This was sort of something we did for Mental Health Awareness Month, trying to encourage folks to, at the very least, just track your drinks. We're not telling you to cut back. We're just telling you, trying to show you the power of tracking. So there's a lot that we're doing to try to build up engagement there. It's been amazing. The response has been absolutely incredible. We're getting people that are really self-regulating and building conversations and dialogue. Very specifically, though, we are trying to make sure it's a group about mindfulness and moderation and not preaching sobriety. That's pretty important to us. But in the grand scheme of things, that's sort of a side project. It's not really core to our product yet, although we are working on community within our product. We don't really have a timeline for that just yet. But to speak more closely to what we've been doing on the product, because we work really hard on obviously improving the product. So since we last talked, we've improved the dashboard experience pretty significantly. We've made the planning process, the weekly planning process, way better. It's slick, it's delightful, and you get way more information about why your plan is the way that it is. And then I think my favorite change that we've made, which is kind of under the hood and is very subtle and clever, but extremely powerful. With Sunnyside, you track your drinks over text message, and it used to be pretty rigid. You used to have to say like Thursday 2 or Friday 3. But we now have this natural language ability, so you can just say, yesterday I had 2 drinks and I also enjoyed a glass of red wine, and it'll track those. So it sounds really simple, but it really creates this more personal, conversational style of interacting with the experience. And this is something that we're really trying to work on over time. Is part of Sunnyside is automated. It is a bot, but we want it to feel very personal, like you're getting a experience of talking to a human. And then coming up in the product, we're working on major improvements to our coaching system. I can't give too many details about that. And we also have an app coming out in the next couple of months. So wow. So an app. So the app is coming. So this has got to be driven by customer feedback, even though I love the text-based messaging. So actually, if I may, we do build our product improvements based on customer feedback, but an app isn't necessarily what people are saying. Okay. People love the SMS element of the service.
Yeah, and I do.
Not to like toot our own horn too much, and I can't give specific numbers, but the engagement that it drives as a long-term utility is off the charts because it requires as little as 1 text message a day to improve your drinking habits. We're not asking you for 15 minutes and running surveys and making you do studies. It's very minimal touch points every day. However, we do want to, an app feels pretty necessary these days. We just kind of did things a little backwards. And when we release it, it's going to be somewhat complementary to the SMS experience. And then over time, we'll use it as an area where we can sort of supercharge the experience. And we're really, really excited about that.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. I love it. I think it's going to be great. And I can't wait to hear more about the coaching as well. So that'll be cool. Tell me before we jump off here, just, in a nutshell, someone joins Sunnyside, the program, basically they typically get a free trial. Mm-hmm. And then they sign up. If they sign up for a year, it's a pretty affordable rate on a monthly basis, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So everyone who signs up gets a free 15-day trial. You can sign up with a credit card or you can sign up without a credit card. Most people sign up with a credit card, and then after 15 days, your credit card gets charged if you don't cancel. That's pretty common. I do also want to point out, we're super nice about refunds. If you write in and you're like, oh, that was a mistake, or I'd like my money back. I mean, we don't want you to have to use a service that's not working for you. But with that said, most people are very happy with it. It's $850 a month, so it's $99 a year. Let me just do the math for that. Yeah, that's $825 a month. That's our cheapest. You can also do a 3-month quarterly plan and a monthly plan, which is $12 a month. And so the way we like to look at that cost is essentially that's less than $1 a day, and it's less than the cost of 2 drinks, or maybe even less than the cost of a single fancy cocktail. So, and on average, our members are, because they're cutting out 30% of their weekly drinks, they're saving over $50 every month, which adds up really quickly. So if you're ready to make an investment in your health regarding alcohol, mindfulness, and moderation, the cost is minimal. It seems very obvious.
Well, it's really going to pay for itself. That's kind of what I think you were saying.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
And that's another part of it, folks, is that the app actually, the dashboard actually shows you not only how much, your money you're saving, but just, how much it's good for your health, improving your sleep, all of that stuff. So it's, it's all just, it's great. It's a really wonderful tool. Super excited. I've been, a proud supporter and somebody that I just so happy with the growth of the company. Really love the mission behind it. Really
Thank you.
Glad that I got connected with you so early on, back when it was Cutback Coach, and I did like the alliteration. But hey,
well, I'll send you a Cutback Coach sweatshirt. How about that?
Thank you. Yeah. I can wear that, but no, I think I want a Sunnyside one now too.
Okay.
Anyways, I wish Nick well and is doing great over in his.
Thank you. Yeah, he has a baby now, so he's been kept busy with that.
That's exciting.
Yeah. I also just want to thank you. It's been awesome to be friends with you through this. Your podcast is amazing. Your online community is amazing. So we just really appreciate the support and friendship from you and your fans.
Absolutely. Well, I will link everything in the show notes, folks, where you can learn more about Sunnyside and also the Mindful Drinking community on Facebook, because both of them are just great tools to help you create that peaceful relationship with alcohol. Just easy things that you can do for you self-changers and for people that are really wanting to take those next steps. So Ian Andersen, super awesome to see you as always. And thank you for being here on the podcast.
Thanks, Molly.
Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Minimalist podcast. This podcast is dedicated to helping you change your drinking habits and to create a peaceful relationship with alcohol. Use something you learned in today's episode and apply it to your life this week. Transformation is possible. You have the power to change your relationship with alcohol now. For more information, please visit me at www.mollywatts.com.